Welcome everybody to Canadian Music in the 90s A, my Facebook group and my YouTube channel. I've got a special guest, one of my good friends, Greg Bond, or as most people call him, Bondzee, because he's got a podcast called Bondzee Live. Um, he's one of my favorite people to talk to, not just because he's from Hamilton, but because he's just a pretty damn cool dude to talk to. Welcome, Greg. Good to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you having me on.
You are obviously somewhere warm.
Yes, I am. I just got to Nicaragua 2 days ago, I believe.
Okay.
I've been coming here for the winter since 2017 and actually lived here for two years straight from 2018 till the pandemic hit in 2020.
Right.
And since the pandemic's hit, I've just been coming back 2 3 months at a time in the winter to get away from the nasty Ontario weather because I don't do well with the cold anymore.
Yeah, there's not many people that do.
No. So I'm blessed to
Um,
be here. It's a beautiful spot.
yeah, it's nice that couple of days of summer we get in Canada, isn't it?
Yeah, I know it's there one day and then it's gone, it seems like.
Yeah,
So
I think it was a Wednesday last year. No,
yeah, it wasn't the best of summers there last year.
no, we had a pretty good summer here on PEI. It was
Did
everything
you?
was opened up again, so it's nice to have people coming to visit last year that we didn't have for like 2 years. So
Yeah, for sure.
it was nice to have family come to visit and see them and stuff like that. And it's nice to have some music coming here last year and some more coming this year. I mean, we had the big festival up west with Our Lady Peace
Yes,
and
love
Hay
those guys.
and Haywire was there.
Okay.
They're also from PEI, so it wasn't too hard to gather them together.
Yeah.
We had Brian Adams in the fall
Oh, nice.
here on the island, and coming up in April we've got Kim Mitchell and Loverboy.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah, that'll
Going
be a
way
good
back.
show. Yeah,
Yeah,
that'll
for
be a
sure.
great show. I think we're gonna have to get up to Summerside for that show for
I
sure.
got I got a great quick Kim Mitchell story for you.
Do it. Yeah.
So I was on radio. I went to broadcasting school in Toronto, and out of school I got into radio up in Barrie on B101,
Oh
and
yeah.
they always had a big battle of the bands at this bar downtown Barrie, and the celebrity guests were Kim Mitchell. Gosh, I forget the other person, and yours truly. I mean, there had to use the term celebrity judges loosely for me because I certainly
Yeah.
didn't have the clout that Kim Mitchell did. I mean, gosh, that guy had been around for so long and he was such a huge deal. And then there's little old me who just got out of college or
Yeah.
broadcasting school, and here I am working on this small little radio in B101 in Barrie. So it's pretty funny. But you know what? He treated me just the same, like a normal human being, and he was super chill and cool. And it's one of my favorite days. I had a great time with Kim.
Yeah, I met him once at Chorus, when he was still with Q107 doing the radio show
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
And had a nice little chat with him, got a picture with him. He was very nice. I really enjoyed meeting him. He's Canadians really are nicer, aren't they?
Yeah, we sure are.
They sort of seem to be anyway.
And we're sorry for saying that we're nicer than the
Yeah,
Americans or anybody else.
yeah, for sure. Um, no, we all know you have many interests. I know that much, but you are a big music fan. I mean, you can't come from the Hammer and not be into good music.
For sure. It's a
Um,
great music hub.
Yep. Some of the greats have come from there. I was talking to Blair Packham last night. We talked about Ian Thomas for a while. He's a proud Hamiltonian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I guess I've met the
Teenage,
teenage. Oh yeah, how can you not mention Teenage Head
for
for sure?
sure. And the
Um,
sad death of the
yeah.
one of them with the murder. His son murdered him. That was crazy. But yeah, great band though.
Did you know any of those guys?
I knew the bass player.
Okay.
Um, he actually ended up dating a girl who was, how do I explain this? It was my ex-wife's brother's best friend.
Okay.
She was a female, and that's who he started dating, and I believe they're still together to this day, to be honest with you. But
Okay.
so I had the pleasure of meeting him and hanging out with him many times and sharing some beers and stories and stuff for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Um, I've met Junkhouse, Tom Wilson.
great band, by the way.
Great band, awesome band.
Yeah.
A band I don't hear from much anymore, but I thought was really good. I think they were from Hamilton. Ray Lyle and the Storm. Do you remember them?
I do. I not like 100%. And I can't confirm if they're from Hamilton or not, but I do know the name and
Yeah,
from the old days.
yeah, for sure.
And what about the Spoons?
Oh, Burlington, Ontario's own
Yeah,
Spoons.
saw the
That's
Spoons. Gosh, I think I was in grade 8. I wasn't even. They played our at the local high school that I was going to the next year,
mhm.
and we knew some people that were a grade ahead, and they're like, they got us tickets and stuff. So I got to see the Spoons when I was in grade 8 at Westdale High School and at their in
Wow.
their auditorium there, which was it was a great show. I remember it being super awesome, still to this day.
And one of my
Love those
memories
guys.
of Hamilton is many visits to the Festival of Friends,
Yes,
seeing lots of
Gage
great,
Park, right?
yeah, lots of great Canadian bands coming through there.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, there's you go down one night, and you'd be like, I'm coming back the next 2 nights. They got some good lineups coming in here.
yeah,
Seeing Burton Cummings and Spirit of the West, and
yeah.
I did see the Spoons there once too.
Did you?
The Spoons, Tom Cochrane.
Okay.
So yeah, you saw some great Canadian talent at the Festival of Friends, and how do you not love that band shell? It's got such personality, right?
It sure does. It really does. Yeah, it was great memories going there back in the day. Old Gage Park.
And I guess we can't go without talking. You are probably one of the biggest Tragically Hit fans I've ever met.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I have them tattooed on my arm.
well, you can't get much bigger than that, I guess. Yeah,
No, saw them 49 times live.
49
Sadly, I didn't get
times.
my 50 mission cap. Um, I was at the very last show in Kingston. I
Okay,
was lucky enough to be one of the lucky ones in there, and that was a special time. It was also very sad. I've never
for
seen so
sure.
many people cry at a concert in my life, but blessed to be there, and it really was a very, very, very special day and place to be. And I was so glad I was there live.
Well, the funny thing about that tour, I was talking to Bill Welichko from Much Music, and he was saying that the other guys in the hip were saying during that tour, Gord seemed to get stronger
He did, and they
and
were all
better
worried
as
he
the
was going to
tour.
get
Yeah,
weaker, but
yeah, he was getting stronger and better as the tour went on, and they were kind of quite surprised. It almost like it kept them alive,
yeah, just
just
that feeding off the crowd and the energy and that stuff is real.
for sure.
I think he really fed off of that, and it gave him that extra energy and boost and made him stronger for sure.
So, what attracted you to the hip? What was the first thing you heard? Like, what made you really start getting into them? And do you remember how old you were? And
Yeah, we're going right back to beginning of high school. I think it was grade 9. I
Mhm.
believe it was Road Apples. No, it was up to here first. It was 87, I believe, or
I think
86.
I thought it was 89, but I'm not too sure.
It could have been 89.
Yeah.
I think, and that's where it started. We were actually, I would have been in grade 10 in 89.
Okay.
And the hip just there was we had a good core group of friends in high school, and
Hmm.
we all just fell in love with this band from Kingston. And I mean, how could you not? I mean, you hear Gordy, and just going to see them. I think the first time I ever saw him was at Cayuga Speedway,
Right.
and just seeing Gordy and his antics on stage and stuff.
Yeah.
We were all instantly hooked,
Yeah.
and it just built and built from there. And then you went and seen them a second time, and then a third time, and then you just every time I saw them, it was a brand new show, and it was never the same. Never the
Right.
same set list. And Gordy, you never knew. We always went because we wanted to see what Gordy would say and do next on
Yeah.
stage, to be honest with you.
I was
And
just
then
gonna
it just
say the thing that attracted me to the hip was when FM radio used to play the Killer Whale Tank version of New Orleans is Thinking.
amazing.
No, he
Just
just
and
goes into this story, 5 minutes long
yeah,
story in the middle of the
yeah.
song, and that's
And
what
then he
got me
did it
into the hip.
for Highway. Was it Highway Girl?
Yeah, or
The
yeah,
suicide version of that where
that too. Yeah,
amazing. Like just he was such an incredible storyteller,
right.
performer, as well as the front man for the band. He was the full package. And I can't really remember some great frontmen and that led bands in my life that I loved, but Gordy was unique and different
Right, very,
in a way
yeah.
that I hadn't really seen, and I was captivated by him, and that's why I just kept going and going. And geez, I traveled to the States to see him.
Oh, really?
You know, I was blessed to meet them a whole bunch of times. I was in their
Hmm.
tour bus. I got to go to Bobby Baker's hotel room one day,
Wow,
at a tiny little motel in Pittsburgh, just outside of Pittsburgh.
wow.
They played it like in this little bar in a motel, just a little bigger than a motel, but motels usually only what, 1, 2 floors,
Yeah,
and it was a pretty big old motel, and the bar must have maybe held 200 people, if that.
yeah.
And I remember being from like this far away from Gordy, as he
Wow.
stood there and sang on stage, and it was just one of the greatest days of my life.
Was there a big difference between seeing them in Canada and the States?
Yeah, there was a
The
few hundred
venues,
people in the
obviously.
States and
Yeah,
thousands and thousands and thousands of people at any Canadian show you went to.
right,
So it was pretty special to go down and see him in the States at these little venues,
right,
because back then when I was doing that and was able to just sort of take off and travel and get to do that, it was there wasn't a whole lot of fans down back
right,
then, if as the hip weren't still, not that they ever got huge there or anything, but they were probably at the lowest that they ever were when I
right,
was traveling to the States to see them. So it was a massive difference.
right.
And they were how do I put, they were way more open down in the States with their fans and stuff, because they weren't
Okay,
getting bombarded by throngs of fans everywhere.
right. The one thing I was actually quite amazed is I'm amazing how well known they were among musicians.
Yeah,
Because I remember when Gord died, Pearl Jam mentioned them live.
Eddie Vedder was a huge fan of Gord.
Yeah, so like that's the other thing that kind of makes you think too. They're very well respected and known among the music community, even in the U.S.
Yeah,
So
I think it was part of the hips doing is that they didn't want to be super popular in the US. They were happy
yeah,
being Canada's band, and I think they always had this plan of a through and thing with them all, that they just did what they wanted to do, and they weren't too overly excited about getting massive in the States.
I think they had a following in the States. Not as big as
Oh, for
Canada,
sure.
obviously, but
Yeah, and especially
um,
border towns too, obviously, right?
sure, like Buffalo's and Detroit's and stuff like that for
Yeah,
sure. Um, I was actually quite amazed. I'm like glad they released that live at the Roxy last year.
amazing.
I think it's a really amazing live recording of
Yeah,
them at their prime, like when
yeah,
they were really taken off and just a tight band. They were
yeah,
really starting to take off, and it's good to hear that recording. Bill Welichka was telling me that the guys recorded everything.
yeah.
So you never know what's going to come out. There's probably some other stuff to come out in the
Oh, I
future.
think we've got some gems coming up down the road, and they've already released a couple of songs. They put it, excuse me, I think it was that 6-song EP or something.
Oh,
It was,
Saskadelphia.
yeah, Saskadelphia, and there's a couple of tunes on there. At me, as being a hardcore fan, I've got bootleg versions of them,
Sure.
back in the day. But for most people, I think there's 2 or 3 songs on there that nobody would have ever probably heard unless you really went searching for it.
Yeah, for sure.
That was pretty special, and
But
I think
how
there's a lot more of that to come.
how excited were you when you found out they were going to be on Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I remember that, and we
Yeah,
were super excited. I remember I think there was a whole bunch of us, and then Dan Aykroyd introduces them, and
right.
then out came Gordy, and it was just, yeah. I still watch those YouTube videos of that still to this day.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. It was like I just like the way Dan introduced them. He says, "I'm proud to introduce to America the tragically hip."
Yeah,
That was
it's
just
great, eh?
awesome.
And then
No, it
seeing
was
Gordy at Woodstock '99 and laying on the stage and stuff, that was pretty special, and I thought it was a great performance.
for sure. And I'm hearing now, I guess Bob Rock did some stuff with Gord before he passed away, and
He
is
did,
starting to see the light of day now.
yeah.
So I'm
I
really
just saw
curious to
something
hear
about
some of
that,
that.
I think yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to hearing some of that.
Definitely.
But definitely, yeah, you obviously stuck with. There's some bands that just hit with you and you stick with them for as long as you can.
Yep. Yeah, Our Lady Peace is the same way with me.
Right.
I'm probably 35 to 40 times. I'd have to look.
Oh wow.
I think we're at almost 40 with Our Lady Peace. I've seen them an awful lot. And I've seen Rain and Chantel Moon versus Sun solo stuff
Okay.
together, I think 5 or 6 times as well. So I'm a big Our Lady Peace fan. And Matt Good, I was always a huge fan of as well. I saw him quite a few times. I love Canadian music. I was always, I love other bands that weren't from Canada, but Canada always had my 3 favorite bands would be those 3: the Hip, Peace, and Matt Good.
Yeah, Matt Good was here on the island actually in the fall,
Is that right?
and Sarah Harmer. Are you a fan of
Oh,
hers?
okay. Geez, there's a
She
name
was
I haven't heard in a while, actually, is Sarah Harmer.
she's fantastic. She puts on a really good live show. She's very talented. And she sang the song that she did with the hip for the Men with Brooms movie,
Right.
which was really cool. If you ever make it here to Prince Edward Island, and I hope you do someday, because I know you like golf.
Yeah, I do.
Um, we have the best tragically hip cover band you will ever see.
Is that right?
They're called Fabulously Rich. And the first time I saw them, I was at the back of the room. I couldn't really see them, but I could not tell the difference
Wow.
between them and the hip.
Wow.
And they play every song you'd ever want to hear, even rare cuts. I
Really?
mean, they open the show with Vaccination Scar.
Jeez.
They really dig into all of their catalog. Like it's just amazing. And I don't know who, well, the singer is a guy named Dennis Ellsworth, who's quite an accomplished solo singer here on the island.
Okay.
He sounds just like Gord when he does those songs. Like he really does. Like
Really?
it's unbelievable. I've seen a few tragically hip cover bands, but these guys are by far the best.
Wow.
So if you ever hear them coming wherever you are, I think you really like them.
Fabulously Rich. I'll keep an eye out for them when I'm back to Canada.
Yeah, for sure. They're all from PEI.
Okay.
But yeah, they're a great tragically hip cover band. They refuse to play Wheat Kings.
Is that right? Yeah.
Well, actually
Fair
they
enough.
do. They just they sing it in the middle of New Orleans sinking.
Okay.
They weave
Nice.
it in like there. So but
Yeah.
yeah, they really get into their catalog. I've suggested that they get Catherine McClellan here from PEI to sing Silver Road,
Yeah.
which is one of my
There you go.
favorite songs of theirs too. I love that song.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, you do Canadian music. Like are you into some of the 80s stuff as well too? Like I've Haywire's from here.
Yeah.
So they're kind of a big deal around here.
Still or
Still, yeah, they still
yeah.
get together
Okay.
and play shows here every year. I think
Wow.
they were out in Oakville last summer. They played a
Okay.
festival out in Oakville last summer, so they still get played on the radio here. You
Wow.
see some of the guys, you see them around town here once in a while.
Yeah.
The one guy, his two daughters are singers. They're twins,
Okay.
and they're really good singers. They sing the anthem at hockey games and stuff here once in a while, but they're really taking off their careers.
Nice.
If you're into that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
But yeah. So and you remember some of our we have a mutual friend, that's how we met. Um and
Mr.
you
Mr.
rec
Strutter.
you recall some amazing jam sessions we had into the
Of
early
course.
mornings.
Yeah. Very early. Yeah, I do. It's funny. I was just there. Gosh, it was probably just 3 weeks ago. I had a nice jam session over there, and it was a lot of fun. And I think it was one of the first times I ever played guitar for two songs.
Oh
I'm
wow.
not very good at the guitar. It's something I've had for years. And I pick it up and then put it down, and I pick it up and put it down. And
Mhm.
this time I've really stuck with it. And I'm really enjoying it. And yeah, I listen, I wasn't great by any means, but I was able to hold my own and sort of keep up with the boys for a couple of songs, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, Sean's the reason I can play the guitar right now.
Yeah, yeah, he's so
Sean
good,
Sean
so
got me
talented.
start Sean got me started. He showed me how to cheat a C and a G chord, and I took off from there. And
Yeah, I do the
he
same cheat.
he was patient enough to teach me and play along with me, and not play songs that were too complicated.
Yeah, yeah,
And
for sure.
I miss those times. I got to find some place to jam here, but I look forward
Yeah,
to seeing Sean again when we get back to
definitely.
Ontario
We'll all have
sometime.
to rendezvous there and have just like the old days. We'll have a nice jam sesh.
But I'm getting
You're really good
old.
on the harmonica too. You used to wail on that harmonica during
Yeah, I
those
haven't
too.
done
It's a
that
lot
in
of
a
fun.
while either.
Is that right?
No, I got to get back into this again. Like, um, I figured I'd be more into it here because there's music here on the island is really big, like
Yeah.
maritime music and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd really like to get back into it more. And I'm hoping to this summer. I'm hoping to have
Okay.
some more time off this summer to get up to the cottage area here in PEI where I went when I was a kid, and maybe my cousins will bring their guitars up and get us going
Yeah.
again. They
Right
have
on.
these parties here called Kayleys.
Okay.
But most of these include a fiddle. You got to have a fiddle.
Yeah.
It,
Well,
it,
it is the Maritimes.
it is, but I mean, it really does add a lot of color to some of the
Hi-
music.
Does Ashley McIsaac still play? He was a fiddler from those
He's
parts, not
we
PEI, but
we've got the Canada Games coming here in about a week and a half, and
okay.
there's a lineup of free shows, and Ashton McIsaac is one of them.
Oh wow,
So he's playing a show here. I don't know if you've heard of Matt Anderson. He's playing here too.
I haven't.
Oh, he's an amazing talent.
Okay,
The Shrews. I know
love
you've
the
heard of the
Trues.
Shrews. Yeah,
Yep,
they're
of
playing
course.
here. Um,
I had
uh,
John Angus on my show as a guest. I believe it was last year. And he was a great guest.
yeah, he's they're a great band. I mean, they've got such a body of work now, and
Yeah,
you know, who else is coming? Have you? I don't know if you've heard of Catherine McClellan.
I have. Yeah,
She's a PEI artist. Her dad is very famous, Gene McClellan. Have you heard of her dad? He wrote Snowbird.
is that right? I didn't know. Never heard of his name.
Yeah, well, he wrote Snowbird for Anne Murray and several other songs. You remember Put Your Hand in the Hand?
Can't say I do.
You don't remember Put Your Hand in the Hand of a Man Who Healed the Water? You don't
No.
you don't recall
Liz,
it?
there's been a lot of
Yeah.
alcohol and drugs over my years, and my memories of what it used to be.
No, but yeah, he wrote that too. He wrote for a lot of people. But yeah, she's a really talented singer too. She writes a lot of good songs, plays a lot of gigs around here. I think she gets back to Ontario once in a while. I think she's played Supercrawl
Okay,
in Hamilton before. She's played Hamilton a few times.
is that right?
So she's quite talented. Yeah, I love the music scene here. There's a great venue here called the Trailside.
Okay.
Um, I saw Zap. I actually got an in-person interview with Zap Acosta.
Oh wow,
Yeah, he came. I just emailed him and he said, "Yeah, come down to my sound check and I'll talk to you afterwards." And he just sat
perfect.
down and told me his career. So
That's cool.
yeah, it's amazing. And I didn't realize some things I didn't know about him. You remember the Pizza Nova commercial that used to be on the radio in Ontario?
Yep.
That's him singing on it.
Is that really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I didn't realize that. He had a song on the Dirty Dancing soundtrack. That's pretty big.
Never knew that either.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
mean, he was a pretty interesting guy to chat with. He's been around and he sang on Tears Are Not Enough, so that's always something that's good.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he was a really nice guy to interview. I haven't been doing too many in-person interviews just because of where I am, but
Yeah.
I'm quite
You.
amazed at who I've been able to talk to.
That's cool. I was going to ask you, do you get bigger bands that come out to PEI being so far away in an island and stuff, or is it just more sort of
Um,
indie and not so popular bands?
you get guys that I'm interested in because I'm old, but
Okay.
I guess the
We
big
are
thing
old.
is we are old, yeah. Um, you get a lot of, I guess, Cavendish has this big country festival every year,
Okay.
and they get the top-notch country acts.
Wow.
This year I guess Chris Stapleton's headlining.
Is that right?
Yeah, so he's coming to PEI, and
Pretty big name.
yeah, so I don't know much about today's country, to be honest with you. I'm not. I mean,
I don't know about any country. I know Chris Stapleton's a country singer and he's a huge deal. That's about all I know.
yeah, I like a couple of these alt country singers that are really good. I don't know if you heard of Sturgill Simpson.
No.
He's quite good. He does a really amazing country remake of a Nirvana song.
Is that right?
Yeah. Um, he also does a cover of I Promise. I don't know if you remember that song. It's an old 80s new wave song. It's totally
No.
different spin on it.
I'm sure I've heard it, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, but he's kind of talented. I kind of like what he's doing. He's totally getting off the new. He's not a new country artist at all. He plays the traditional
Okay.
style of country that seems to have disappeared, but seems like it's coming back a bit.
Is that right? I honestly, I love all music, my
Yeah,
friend. I really do, except country. I
yeah.
just, I've never been able to wrap my head around it. Teach their own, but yeah, it's just something I've never ever gotten into. New,
Well,
old, it just doesn't matter.
it's well, I appreciate some of the really talented ones. Like my dad and I used to listen to Vince Gill a lot.
Okay.
And if despite his singing, he's probably one of the best guitar players I've ever seen.
Hmm.
Like I mean, the Eagles asked him to join them,
Wow.
so you can't be you got to be pretty good. You got to have
Yeah.
good chops for the Eagles to want you to play with them. So
Yeah, you sure do.
and Eric Clapton does this guitar festival down in Texas every year, where he just invites all his guitar playing buddies and they just jam for 3 days.
Wow.
Vince Gill's on that every year.
Wow.
He's up
I
there
bet that's
jamming.
something.
He's up there jamming with Clapton, Sheryl Crow. Just just it's amazing 3 days. Like there's videos of it online. It's quite
Huh.
intense how good they are. But
Incredible.
and another girl I listen to, I don't know if you probably wouldn't appreciate her. Have you heard of Alison Krauss?
Yes, I have. I
Yeah.
know her name, but I probably heard her songs a couple times and
Well, she
met
sings with
in
Robert Plant.
passing.
She's
Okay.
she's she's done an album with Robert Plant and just recorded a new one
Oh, wow.
with Robert Plant, and they won a bunch of Grammys. She's an amazing talent. She's been
Huh.
around for years. She started in bluegrass,
Okay.
but she's really done. I mean, she won more. She won over 20 Grammys, I think, just for playing bluegrass music before anyone knew her name, like really on a larger scale.
Right.
But she was always one of my favorite singers. But I'm not into a lot of country, um, but those are really, and they're not Canadian. I should be getting back on the Canadian thing again.
Yeah. It's all
But
good. Hey,
no,
it's Robert Plant. Come on.
yeah,
It's okay to get a little sidetracked for Robert.
yeah,
I
for
love that.
sure. Um, but yeah, I don't get too much into the country, but I'm wondering, like, what are some other bands that you would have been into from Canada back in Hamilton?
Oh gosh, put me on the spot, bro.
Because we
Gowan.
talked.
We were talking about
Oh
Gowan
yeah,
pre
Gowan for
doing
sure.
this. Gowan was the first concert I ever saw.
Wow.
It was 12 and it at Hamilton Place. And I had posters on the wall of Gowan in my bedroom. And I just loved him. I thought he was great. But
Oh,
so
he's a really talented guy.
yeah, so I saw Gowan a few times. Now he's playing for Styx. Yeah, I never really got into Styx or him playing for Styx, but not to say they're terrible, but geez, who else? Junkhouse, we brought up Junkhouse, a great band. And
Yeah.
being from Hamilton, I didn't really get to know Tom Wilson, but I got to meet him a couple of times, and
Hmm.
I think we had a mutual friend. But geez, who else? Gosh, you got me, bro. Off the tie, you put me on
Well,
the spot.
my first concert was Helix opening for Ronnie James Dio.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Helix. Wow.
Helix. Oh yeah.
I got to see quite a few bands. I was living out west when I
Yeah.
was young, like 20 to 22. Got to see some cool bands. There was a band that sticks out. They're called One. They're from
Okay.
London, Ontario.
Right.
They were more of the college university scene.
Hmm.
They come out to Banff a lot. They were huge in Banff.
Yeah.
People just loved them. And they were sort of like the specials. It was reggae, ska,
Okay.
just a great time. There's like 7 guys in the band. They had a trumpet, they had the trombone.
Right.
Totally reminded me of the specials for sure. The lead singer was amazing.
Hmm.
And the cool thing about that band was they were all super, super smart. I think the
Right.
one guy went on to be a doctor and the other was a lawyer. And they broke up not too long
Yeah.
after. Gosh, we're going back to 93, 94,
Okay.
95. But they disappeared, but there's still music still out there. The old Smoke and the Goats was one of their
Yeah.
albums. Still love
Okay.
that album to this day. Geez, who else? I saw Trooper out in Banff.
Oh boy.
They came and played quite a few times as well.
Were you ever a big Rush fan?
Yeah, I loved Rush, and I will never. I shouldn't say I should never forgive myself, but I kick myself to this day for never going to see Rush live. Never got to see him,
6 times
one reason or
here.
another. But
Six
amazing
times
band,
here. Yeah.
and so many people hated Rush and still do.
Well, everyone that hated Rush said the same thing. I don't like Geddy Lee's
Geddy
voice.
Lee's
And
voice,
that is
yeah,
not the reason you listen to Rush.
exactly.
You listen to Rush
Neil
because
Peart,
there's,
one of the greatest drummers of all times.
well, even collectively as a trio, they're three of the best musicians you will ever
Yeah,
hear.
yeah,
If you're into music and how it's played, you will never hear three guys play as tight as they did.
yeah.
I was actually thinking of the Watchmen the other day. Do you remember them?
Geez, now see, you're helping me out here, dude. I love the Watchmen. I've probably seen the Watchmen 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
I had the drummer on my show, Sammy Kahn.
Okay.
Great guest. And geez, I saw them at a bar in Barrie. It was the first time, and now I think it's a Chinese buffet place, but it used to be the Brookdale back in the day, and
Okay.
I got to see the Watchmen. Very small venue, really cool. And then they broke up for like I think 20 years or something, and they got
Yeah.
back together. What 4 years ago now, maybe.
Yeah.
Love the Watchmen though. So many great tunes.
Um, Actually funny, you were talking about Matt Good a while ago. Have you heard his cover of Blown Wide Open by Big Wreck?
I have not.
I suggest you do. It's really
Okay.
good. I don't know why he recorded it, but he did, and it's a really phenomenal version. Like I knew he
Interesting.
would do it justice, but it's if you like Big Rack, I was a big fan of theirs back in the '90s too.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan, but I had friends that were very huge fans and have seen them numerous times. I got to see them here and there, but yeah, I mean, I like their music. It doesn't come on all the time, but when I hear it stays on.
There's actually
Alanis Morissette. I
yeah.
loved Alanis back in the day.
Oh, she was great song. That Jagged Little Pill there. I mean, I think every song
Killer.
was a single, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody
And
knew every song.
I'm not ashamed to admit that on our I just had her name on the tip of my tongue. Avril Lavigne.
Oh,
Her first album was incredible too. Some really good songs on there, and
she is
but
incredible. She is a talent, that's for sure.
yeah, she definitely was.
I was actually I wanted to mention before I moved out here to Ontario or from Ontario. One of the last shows I saw was at the Horseshoe. We saw the Odds.
Okay,
You remember
that's a
them?
band I haven't heard of in a while.
Well, that was actually kind of funny because it was they were doing their whole Good Weird Feeling album front to back,
Okay,
and they had all these guests performing with them. First of all, it was the hottest night in the summer I've ever like. I was hanging down. Have you ever been to the Horseshoe?
yes,
I was in the basement because it was cool down there for most of the night because it was disgustingly hot upstairs. So
I
I
don't
was
think
just
I've
down.
ever been to the basement at the
Oh,
Horseshoe.
but it smelled terrible, but it was cooler down there.
Okay,
And I think there's a dressing room down there because I'm standing there and Tom Wilson walked by.
is that right?
Okay, and then I watched Mo Berg from Pursuit of Happiness walk by me. I'm like, what is going on here? Chris Murphy from Sloan just walked by me too. And I'm
Wow.
looking, and there's Stephen Page from Bare Naked
Yeah.
Ladies walking by. I'm like, what is going on here? And then we went back upstairs to see the show, and I crossed Bruce McCullough from Kids in the Hall in the stairs.
Oh wow.
I was like, what is going on here tonight? And all these guys played with the Odds. They did a song with them.
Huh. Interesting.
It was incredible. And then I'm looking around and I see Andrew Cash was standing next to me. Like it was like a '90s Canadian music night there. Like it was unbelievable. I thought it was back in
Yeah.
the '90s or something like that. It was absolutely crazy, but what a show.
Cool.
Yeah. Because I always remember that video. Do you ever remember that video the Odds did for Eat My Brain?
Yes.
The black and white where they got chased around by Junkhouse in the Pursuit of Happiness.
That's right. There's a Pursuit of Happiness, another band that brings back memories too, for sure.
Yeah, I saw them at Sheridan College in 1992. And there was a
Really?
band opening for them that nobody heard of at the time called Our Lady Peace. And nobody had a clue who they were.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, they were one of the biggest bands in Canada.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was just
They
unbelievable.
took off.
All I remember
Definitely.
is they did a really good cover of Dear Prudence by the Beatles.
Okay.
I remember hearing that, and I was like, okay, these guys are good. They got some chops. They can play Beatles. That's pretty awesome.
Rain did that? Our Lady Peace?
Our Lady Peace, yeah.
Wow.
I was
I don't
blown
think
away.
I've ever heard that.
Yeah. I didn't realize, wow. And like I said, 2 years later, I saw them opening for Van Halen.
Okay.
You know,
Jeez.
amazing.
Yeah.
Did you ever make your way up to Edgefest? I mean, you were in Barrie, you said.
Yes. Numerous times. I got to see some amazing bands there at Edgefest for sure.
Yeah, I remember going every year and seeing bands like the Tea Party, 13 Engines, bands like that.
Yeah,
Do you remember Sandbox?
I do. I still listen to Sandbox. There's a couple tunes that from the old days I listen to. You mentioned Edgefest. Who was I going to mention there that now it escapes me. Sorry. Go ahead.
But
It'll come back to me.
that's where I saw Sandbox, and I guess you realize their guitar player is Bubbles from the Trailer
You know
Park
what?
Boys.
I'd forgotten all about that until you just mentioned it, but that is pretty funny. Old Bubbles.
Yeah, I saw Our Lady Peace there. Matt Good did Edge Fest the one year I was there. He came out wearing a stormtrooper mask. It was hilarious.
You know, I have memories of that, and then the pictures. Obviously, I've seen them along there because I've seen Matt Good. God, probably 30 times as well. It's up
Yeah,
there. Solo shows with a band.
right.
He did it all. One of my favorite shows of Matt Good was he'd just gotten out of the hospital. And he was there for quite a while,
Hmm.
and he was going through some issues and that. And he played at the Kita Bala.
Okay.
And it was a solo show. And he came out on stage with a stool, an acoustic guitar, and a bottle of red wine.
Wow.
And probably one of the coolest shows I've ever seen in my life. It was simple, but it was captivating, and he just got out, he was talkative, but he played some great, it was it was a really
Yeah.
special night.
Oh, that would be amazing. That's another venue that was a big Canadian band venue, Kita Bala.
Love it there. Love it there.
I remember seeing 5440 up there.
Yeah.
There's another great Canadian band too.
Wilcox, everybody came up there. Well, Kim Mitchell always played. The true Sam Roberts was
Sam
a
Roberts,
guy
another
who
one.
used to see quite a lot back in the day. Definitely a
Uh,
good band.
I used to go to, I lived in Oakville before I moved from Ontario, and we used to go to this Kerr Street Festival every year.
Okay.
And one of my favorite nights was the night it was Honeymoon Suite and Kim Mitchell
Wow.
on the
There you go.
same
That'd be a good
bill.
one.
What a night that was. It was almost a dream concert, like, because you knew every song. Like
Yeah.
it was one of those nights, and I didn't realize Honeymoon Suite still has 4 of the 5 original members.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, which I was totally blown away with. So you don't see that too often these days. Usually a classic rock band has like maybe 1 or 2 of the original guys in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's pretty rare to see these days too. So, but
Sure is.
man, great chatting with you, Greg.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Some great old band names that have come up, and I'm gonna have to go listen to them over the weekend and have run down memory lane, if you will.
For sure. It's great to talk to you, man. I appreciate you coming on here. I've been on your show before. Oh, that's why I want you to plug your podcast for it.
Yeah, so you've been on as a guest. That was a great chat, and I've had on a lot of great musicians. I've been pretty lucky. I mentioned John Angus from the Trues. I've had
Mhm.
Jeremy Taggart on. Then the new drummer for Our Lady Peace. I guess he's not so new anymore. But Jason Pierce.
Okay.
I've been pretty lucky with some guests, but I have a podcast. It's called Bondzee Live on Tripping with Bondzee on YouTube,
Okay.
and we're starting next week. We're going back to Monday and Wednesdays,
Okay.
9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, yeah, you want to tune in and appreciate it. We got some cool guests coming up over the next little while. I just had a bunch of bands from Kingston on. We had the guitar player for the Glorious Sons, Chris Coster, was on.
Okay.
He was amazing. We had such a great chat, and then we had the lead singer from Cazador.
Mhm.
The guitar player the bass player for Cazador is Bobby Baker's son. I don't know if you knew
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah, so that was cool. And then another great band out of Kingston. We had a nice little run there. We had a band called The Wilderness as well.
Okay.
I had the lead singer on Jonas. So yeah, it's been great. We've been pretty music heavy out of Kingston lately for my guests. Just
Nothing
happened by
wrong.
accident, but yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, buddy. Nothing wrong with
No,
that.
not at all.
No.
So yeah, Tripping with Bondzee, 9 p.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and that's Eastern Standard Time. And yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me, man. Great
Yeah,
to
it's been
chat
a
with
great
you.
chat. Yeah, you
All
take
right.
care.
Take
We'll
care,
see you in
man.
the summer, hopefully.
I hope so. Bye.
All right, bye.